Vegetable Kingdom, The Abundant World of Vegan Recipes by Bryant Terry. That's the cookbook that we're reviewing today, so grab a mug of your favorite beverage and join me for today's Nutrition Coffee Chat. And while you're at it, click the subscription button below and the little notification bell so that you get everything you need to create healthy eating habits that stick. Well, with all of the events that have happened in the last couple of years, really, especially 2020, it had me really reflecting a lot on my privilege and made me realize that I don't have a lot of awareness of the lived experiences of Black people. And so as a result, I've been purposely opening myself up to have a lot more Black voices that I'm receiving in many areas within my life. But the number one way that I understand people are through their food ways. Not a shocker. And so I really have been searching for new cookbooks to review that are written by Black voices that explore the Black food cuisines, Black food ways, the African diaspora. And when I combine that with the number one request I get from you folks here in the YouTube community, from clients, that's for more plant-based recipes. And so voila, you combine those two, and that brings us to this cookbook, Vegetable Kingdom, The Abundant World of Vegan Recipes by Bryant Terry. And I'm so glad that I discovered this cookbook. I would love more cookbooks. And so if you know of some cookbooks, you have some cookbooks to recommend written by Black authors, cookbooks exploring the African diaspora, Black cuisines, please share your ideas in the comment section below. I'd love to receive them, and I'm sure many of us could benefit from and a whole bunch of new cookbook ideas. But let's get into a review of this cookbook today. So this cookbook, as I mentioned, so happy that I stumbled across it because it is a cookbook for cookbook lovers. Celebration of cookbooks. What was I saying? It celebrates cookbooks. It really does. It's a nice, solid hardcover book with some real heft to it. The pages are like a nice textured page, and many of the recipes do have beautiful photos, but many do not. So it has a real mix. Some recipes are just the written words, and then other recipes have beautiful photos. So this, as I said, is a cookbook for cookbook lovers who love to just read through a cookbook, get into it deep, and get excited about cooking. How does he organize this cookbook? Well, let me back up and just say, what is this cookbook covering? Obviously, vegan cooking, and it's an exploration of African and Asian cooking. I'll read a little description from Brian's own words here. While I emphasize ingredients, cooking techniques, and classic dishes of the African diaspora, Jiden, his wife, does the same with Asian food, Chinese, Japanese, and Vietnamese. So this book features a number of ingredients and flavors from East and Southeast Asia, sub-Saharan Africa, the Caribbean, and the American South. So that's what this cookbook is all about, and a fascinating modern take on bringing these food cultures together, and of course, all of them being vegan. Now, the organization of the cookbook, again, really different for me, new exploration for me. So really, even just from the organization of the cookbook, it started to open myself up to new experiences. And so the first is that, after many cookbooks, they talk about how to use this book and kitchen tools to have, but then he has a playlist of music to listen to while cooking. So I loved that. And then the recipes were organized in a really different manner. They're organized by the purpose of the food on the plant, or the part of the plant that that food is from. So there are seeds, which are beans, peas, and sweet corn. Bulbs, so fennel, leek, spring onions, scallions. Stems, asparagus, celery, kohlrabi. Flowers, so things like broccoli and cauliflower. Fruits, including things like peppers and squashes. Leaves, so cabbage, parsley, spinach, etc. Fungi, and then tubers, so those are your potatoes, your yams, your sunchokes, and then roots, so things like beets and carrots and parsnips. And then there's the cupboard section, which is a list of ingredient type recipes that you're going to use in the main recipes. So I tried out a ton of recipes from this cookbook, and let's dive into those. The first one was pea shoot and peanut salad. I mean, check out the colors on that salad. It's beautiful. And it is a beautiful combination of textures. If you love a variety of textures in your salad, you're going to love this one. And this one has a couple of things that I really noticed were standouts. One is the salad dressing. A lot of times when you're doing vegan salad dressings, it's just an oil and vinegar, which I love. I love a basic oil and vinegar. But I really noticed in this cookbook, he has a number of great vegan salad dressings that are more complex, that are creamier. This one uses some miso paste and some silken tofu in it. So it has like this umami, creamy texture, some similarities to a flavor profile you might get in something like a Caesar salad dressing. Now, it doesn't taste exactly like Caesar salad, but it has that umami, that creamy play. But of course, vegan, so loved the salad dressing. And this is a great example of a recipe that included those cupboard recipes. I call it like a compound recipe, where it's like, okay, this recipe, you need these other recipes that then compound into making this one. And so for this one, it was the garlic chips, and it's basically deep frying some thinly slicing garlic and then deep frying it, which creates a beautiful garlic chip. And yeah, oh, so worth taking that step. Delicious. Moving on to the next recipe. Smashed peas and creamy cauliflower. So again, this is one of those compound recipes. There's a different recipe for creamy cauliflower in the book, and then this one you're using it with smashed peas. I was cooking through this book when pea season happened, and so this is a beautiful, simple celebration of peas being in season. Cornbread muffins. I mean, I had to try a cornbread muffin recipe, and I'm so glad I did, because I have had cornbread many times in my life, and I'm always disappointed in it. I'm always like, nah, okay. I know that the cornbread is celebrated as a cultural food, and so I kept trying it to gain an appreciation for it, but kept being kind of disappointed, or just lackluster sort of feeling towards it. But these cornbread muffins, no, they are delicious. I was super happy that I made these, and let me tell you, they got gobbled up pretty darn quick in my household. I found the use of dates in here with the cornbread was the perfect amount of just that touch of sweetness with the savory texture that was just right, that I think all the other cornbread recipes that I've ever tried didn't quite nail, but this recipe nailed it. So very great recipe. And if you've been following me for a while, you know I'm not a baker, and if I could bake these, you know they're easy. The next dish, chickpea, fennel, and potatoes. There's no photo for this one. This, again, is one of those compound recipes where you used a cup of cashew cream. Now, if you've been cooking vegan for a while, you've probably made cashew cream before. That's not super new. But there was a cilantro sauce as well for this. And yeah, this was a real winner. This was a delicious combination of foods. Simple, chickpeas, fennels, potatoes, but there's a lot of layers of flavor and spices in here. Oh, that elevates it from a simple dish to quite a complex flavor profile. And it was a huge win in my household. We loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Moving on to the next one, warm beluga lentils with roasted kale, with roasted leek tops and kale. Again, no photo to share for this one. I love lentils, I love leeks, I love kale. This was a great dish. And again, it used a sun-dried tomato broth and some sweet hot pepper vinegar, as well as that cashew cream. And so, yeah, all sorts of different flavor profiles happening in here, different compound recipes, and yeah, it really elevated simple lentils to a delicious dish. The next one, Pharaoh with kidney beans and burnt scallions. Again, no photo to share with you. I love Pharaoh, and I think it's really an underappreciated grain. It's got a great toothsomeness. If you like a little bit of a chew, a little bit of a texture to your food, oh, I really recommend trying Pharaoh, and this was a good recipe for it. Moving on, simple celery salad. Again, no photo for you there. This one, I mean, it really is just celery, so it is exactly what it's called, named here. But this one, it uses a charred lemon oil from those cupboard recipes. And that oil is delicious. Oh, that is a beautiful recipe. And the nice thing is when you make it, you get more than you need for just, say, this salad. So yeah, I'm all over it. And now that we have local celery arriving in our stores right now, in our farmers markets and local grocery stores that have, it's like dark green and it has a ton of flavor. It pairs so nicely with that charred lemon oil. Okay, moving on here. Spicy stewed peppers. Again, no recipe for this. If you've ever had an abundance of bell peppers like it's been lately, I love to cook it down this way with onions. I first discovered this technique actually in Barcelona and noticed that a lot of the tapas restaurants and different restaurants I was eating at would often have a stewed or a roasted pepper salad with onions. And so I picked up the technique from that travel and I noticed it in here. And so, hey, I had to give, his version a try, and yeah, it was equally as good. So such a great celebration of kind of late summer, early fall recipes. Moving to oven roasted zucchini. Finally have a photo for you here. Oh, this one is delicious. I mean, hey, zucchini, when zucchini is in abundance through the summertime, we want new ways to eat it. And this one is a collard peanut pesto. Now, I admit I needed to substitute kale for the collards. I couldn't find collards in my grocery store, at least at this time of year, but I definitely used the peanuts in this pesto, and brilliant idea. Really brilliant idea. Bringing that peanut taste to a pesto is just a symphony. I loved it. I mean, it's such a simple swap for a milder tasting nut that's usually in a pesto, but so glad that, again, this recipe makes much more pesto than you need just for the zucchini. And so I've been enjoying it on pasta and other vegetables as an accompaniment. And I will definitely be making this recipe again and again and again. So good. Yellow squash soup. No photo for this one, but do not skip this recipe. It is so good, so good. I would say that this was our favorite recipe of the whole book. We were just singing the praises. Sad that it was finished, and I can't wait to get some more yellow zucchini to make it again. So good. They use Jamaican type of spice profile in here, and coconut milk to make it creamy. Yum, so good. And there's a topping with a pecan kind of crumble crunch combination of flavors. So good. I still have a little jar of it, and I've been topping it on different vegetables, different dishes since making this soup. So good. Moving on, jerk tofu wrapped in collard leaves. This is the recipe you'll recognize from the front cover, and yeah, it's really good. Now, I admit I cheated a little bit on this one. I guess not cheating, but I couldn't find collards, and second, I ran out of steam a little bit. There were a lot of steps in preparing this recipe, but I did all the steps up until wrapping and then cooking. So I did made the marinade, I marinated the tofu, and then I cooked up the tofu and then just ate it like that. And wow, talk about a flavor punch. This marinade is delicious. If people have ever complained about the fact that tofu has no flavor, make them this recipe. Or if you've tried tofu and thought that, oh, I wish I could eat tofu, but I just can't get over the fact that it has no flavor, make this recipe. So much flavor, deliciousness. Moving on, caraway roasted beets and carrots. Again, this is quite a similar recipe to what I make already. I mean, roasted carrots, roasted beets, and caraway seeds are a classic combination. This one, I would say, I mean, it's delicious, don't get me wrong, but it takes a lot of time with his technique here. I don't know about you, but spending time on my knife skills to make these tiny little perfect cubes, that was a lot of time. And then he has you kind of pulling them out and turning them over quite a few times during the roast. I usually just do a much rougher cut and then throw them in the oven and then take them out when they're ready. So I didn't really notice that much effort, extra work created a difference in the flavor. I didn't have any more enjoyment of the recipe, but hey, maybe you're making this dish for a potluck. Well, probably not a lot of potlucks happening with COVID, but for, a dinner party or something where you want to, impress people with your knife skills, where the look of the food is even more important. Okay, go for it. Nothing wrong with it, but just it didn't change the taste in my experience. Ooh, this next recipe was super unique. Roasted parsnips with onion mustard sauce. Yeah, now again, this had quite a lot of steps involved in it. I love parsnips, and this flavor profile, though, completely unique. The combination of flavors in here. There was the peanut oil, there's the onion, there's the mustard seeds, there's some chili, there's some Dijon mustard, there's some crushed peanuts. So again, all foods that I like, but I've never had them combined together. And so I was really curious to try this, and I'm glad I did, because yeah, the flavor profile was really unique and delicious. And then the last recipe that I tried were brown sugar glazed turnips. I do a different recipe that has a bit of a sweetness to turnips. This one was even more so, really deep, rich, as you can kind of see in that sauce. It's going to have that deeper, darker, kind of sweet flavor from molasses, and yeah, it works really well with turnips. So a lot of great recipes that I tried in this cookbook, and I have to say, I have so many more recipes that I want to try in here. It's been kind of peak of summer, late summer that I've been cooking through this cookbook, and so all the recipes that I was making were with vegetables that been in season. But I'm really looking forward to trying a whole bunch more recipes with vegetables that become in season through the later fall into the winter time. Yeah, because I've been really enjoying the flavor profiles that have been so unique. The techniques have been opening my eyes, brand new techniques for using what are often very familiar vegetables to myself. But also there's going to be some new vegetables and some new things in here that I haven't really tried or explored a lot. So I'm excited about trying that. And to tell the truth, a lot of cookbooks, after I've cooked, 12, 14 recipes from them, those are kind of all the recipes that interested me. And so I'm really excited that I have at least another dozen recipes that I want to try in here. Now this cookbook, as I was kind of alluding to through my review, it's for people who love to cook, who love that creativity, maybe that meditativeness, that kind of unplugged time for those of us who spend a lot of our days connected to the internet, as a way of expressing our love for folks, because a lot of these recipes take a lot of time. There's a lot of work involved in many of these recipes, and as I said, a lot of them you need to make the first recipe of that cupboard ingredient, and then you make the main recipe, which often involves a lot of steps, sometimes in the refrigerator overnight, or it can sometimes be a multi-day process for this cookbook. Now, I took 2 one-week staycations over the summer, and so that's part of what I was doing on my staycations, was just really enjoying kind of a day-long time in the kitchen, unrushed, just enjoying cooking. That's what all I was up to that day, and I was loving this cookbook for that. So if that describes you, I highly recommend this cookbook. If you are looking for like quick 30-minute weeknight meals, give this one a pass. This one is not for you. But if you love to cook and you love the foods of the African diaspora, or like me, you're looking to expose yourself more and learn more about these cuisines, highly recommend this book, especially if you're looking to include more vegan recipes, or just, love plants and love more vegetable recipes. Highly recommend it for that. To get it, of course, pop down to your local bookstore or contact them to bring them in for you. If you buy your books through Amazon, I ask that you use the link that I've got in the description box below. When you do so, I earn a little bit of money from that at no extra expense to you. So it's a wonderful way to provide some support for myself and these videos. Well, I hope that you liked today's video. If you did so, please click the thumbs up button below. I've got a couple other vegan cookbook reviews for you to check out here, so please do so. I'll see you next month, and in the meantime, enjoy healthy eating.